are live. Google Hangout is on air live. Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Cook from Salisbury University doing a test run for an online presentation for an assignment for Module 3 of EDUC 585, Instructional Technology Tools for Education. So, folks, as we're starting this presentation, what I would tell you to do is do your introduction like you normally would. I'm going to go over here to share screen. I can share my application window, meaning if I have multiple screens, or I can share my entire screen. I'm just going to do the entire screen. When I do this, you now lose me. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to minimize some of this stuff that I'm even going to minimize my Panopto. And I'm actually just going to pull up the PowerPoint presentation that I have and start to present to you on Flipgrid. Flipgrid's an amazing opportunity to enhance online discussion boards and learning. As we go through, I tell people it's amazing to do. You reignite your online discussion board passion. One thing I find in K-12 is people do not truly understand how valuable speaking, listening skills are. And I believe that at higher education too. A lot of times we get lost in written discussion boards and we make our 2 posts. And after we make our 2 posts, or excuse me, our 1 post and our 2 responses, we forget them because we're that eager student and we're the first one to respond, and you don't really get a whole lot out of the conversation. Hence why I don't micromanage Flipgrid and say you have to have a minimum. You have to have enough to show me that you understand the topic. It's video active for social learning purposes. It's easy to use in your class and can align with almost anything. I tell a lot of people, put on your iPad and you can turn your camera around, have kids show you math problems and verbally explain their thought process. A lot of times when we look at numbers, we don't understand why kids did things they did. This allows you to. It's super easy to use in all capacities. You can see they have actually featured my students, which is amazing. I love it. And these are some EDUC 210 students from last semester. So it's simple. 1 or 2 minutes to create your account. You can add a grid, which is the big piece. Like a grid for me would be your class. Topics would be the questions for each module. And I can truly understand what you're going through, what your thoughts are, because I'm actively responding to you, because it's important to me that you have feedback and discussion and interaction, even in an online world. So once you build your grid, you add your topics to it, which are simply questions. You respond with video. You reply to users almost like a Facebook type of back and forth discussion. Super easy to embed in Canvas. As I was telling some folks, this presentation was actually meant for other college professors to use Flipgrid, but hey, you happen to be getting it because I'm doing a dummy presentation. A lot of times, students are more activated when they can just share off the cuff. That's what I'm looking for. It's social. You can work yourself through it. People like it. Kids as young as my 4-year-old daughter, now 5, would FaceTime her cousin to talk. Yes, my 4-year-old can use an iPad and FaceTime. This is the same idea. If a 4-year-old can do it, adults can do it. Instead of me spouting off to you in that classroom setting, or if I'm in a faculty meeting and I'm just throwing information at you, oh my gosh. This allows us to throw ideas and you can bounce ideas, hear what people are learning. When you share the brunt of the work with participation and voice, people slowly become out of their comfort unit. Because sometimes they don't want to do it in front of people, but in an online community, we can do it ourselves. I always tell people I like to model the way myself. I tell people I use it all the time and I'm passionate about it. I learn dialogue changes. I know what professional development I've done before for some K-12, actually really not even K-12, for elementary folks. We had 5 stations where we had basic elementary skills and people had to respond using Flipgrid. Super easy. You can celebrate voice. You can play them back. You can actually go through and critique them. If I had you face-to-face every day, I would probably critique some of yours. Actually, I'll probably do it digitally now. So this is a basic rundown through how I would present this. Now I'm going to stop my screen sharing and go back to my actual session. That is not what I was looking for. There we go. So that is a basic run through on how you will go about presenting an online piece. Like I said, if you were really doing it in front of a live audience, but you could have some friends of yours log in, you might have a little bit of chat going on the side. And one of the things I do want to show you about the screen share, you have an application window. So for example, if I had just this and I wanted you to follow this, I could make that like half of my screen. Kind of interesting, but just for you purposes, kind of neat. People can, you can respond to people. Sometimes I tell people when I'm doing this for the real thing, I'll actually set up 2 monitors so I can look at one and respond on the other. So folks, this is your example of how to use a Google Hangout for an online professional development piece. I hope you enjoyed. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to ask. This is probably new for you, but it's one of those things where you can archive pieces and you can share it to staff meetings. Think about the opportunities with this. It's definitely a useful tool, K-12 or higher ed. Now we're going to stop broadcast.